Hi, I'm Joe, and you're listening to Beards, Blades, and Podcasts. Thanks for joining us tonight. I definitely want this to be an interactive show tonight. I'm going to be talking about my personal beard origin story, but I also want there to be space for you to tell your own beard origin story in the chat as you go, if you have a beard, obviously. So I also want to start tonight talking about what's in beard and then also what's in hair, as I traditionally do on these podcasts. I have in hair tonight, I have Shea Moisture's Waves Pomade. I dropped a review of that on my channel this week. If I remember, I'll leave it in the description, but you can definitely take a look on my channel. It's the last video that I dropped is a review of that. I love it. I've been using it consistently. I think for the last 2 weeks, I haven't really touched anything else, and I'll probably use it until it runs out. I think I said in my review it would take me about 2 months to run out. I don't even know if I'm gonna make it that long. It might just last a month and a half. So I guess all good things must come to an end. But definitely something to keep in mind when you buy it, that it just doesn't last all that long. And then what I have in beard tonight, I have kind of a combination of things actually. I have beard meds, which is scuba, aka beard tubes, beard oil, and then on top of that, I put in Aberlight's beard mist, which I'm going to be dropping a review for. Should be tomorrow morning when that full review comes out. So I have multiple things in beard today. Didn't have quite enough time to put in my beard butter tonight before the show, but that'll be going in later. I know I've mentioned before that I don't typically think that beard butter does anything for me. But I still have it, so I use it. So I think kind of getting into my story with my beard origin story here. My I was prepping for the show today, and I was thinking like, oh, how far back am I gonna go? And I figured, if we're gonna start, let's start in the beginning. So the first time I have anything resembling a beard, I had actually had a mustache, and that was the first thing that ever grew in. And I think I was about 15 years old. For any of you that know, when a young man, when his mustache starts growing in, it looks pretty terrible. And so the first thing I did was I learned, my dad taught me how to shave, and so I did that and just shaved it off and kept consistently shaving throughout the next couple of years, just with a cartridge razor. The straight razor and safety razor stuff comes later, which I can definitely briefly touch on in this podcast. So 16 goes by, 17 goes by, and then when I turn 18, start getting a little bit older and decide to start growing a little bit my facial hair out a little bit. And what I used to do at the time was I left a little bit of hair here on the chin, just at the end, and the rest of it I would shave. So just starting to expand beyond being completely shaven to doing a little bit of something. So once I go to college, I decided to grow. I don't know if any of you remember anyone having these, but I liked it, and it was a chin strap. And so what that is, for those of you not familiar, is you basically take your sideburns and keep it going all the way down until it covers your chin, and then comes back up on the other side. I think that's pretty universally known as a douchebag look, which is fine. If I get labeled a douchebag, that's totally fine. But that was that was the look I actually rocked for all the way through college, 19 through 23. I had a chin strap, and so I would just shave everything else. Never really experimenting much else than that, but I would just keep the chin strap. And it was pretty. It wasn't super thin. It was like yay thick. And then after graduating from college, or probably shortly before leaving, I would basically start working. I started working as in a professional capacity, and so I would either shave consistently, or I would go through the process of basically starting to grow out a beard for about a month at a time. So I would start, something as simple as just, obviously initially it's just stubble. And then eventually, after about a month, you do have a beard. It's just a short beard. And then what I used to do is I would actually shave right at the chin line. So knowing more now, I don't think I would do that. But I used to actually, if I could pick up my head here, and how much you can see with my beard is going to be debatable, but I would actually shave this like this under the chin spot, like, because you should, when you're growing your beard out, even if you're going to keep it short, you really should go maybe another inch or so deeper into your neckline, and you can even truly go all the way back and then just shave like the actual neck rather than, I don't know what to call that part of your face that's below below your chin but above your neck. And because what ends up happening is that looks kind of weird. I can speak more to that if anyone has any particular interest, but it definitely it definitely didn't look great, hindsight being 2020, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. So I would do that and occasionally shave it off, once again keeping this all to cartridge razors and everything. And then I would start saying probably in my late 20s is when I stumbled across the traditional wet shaving world. And so I moved from using cartridge razors to safety razors. I haven't done a lot on this channel about safety razors, just because when you're lining up your cheek line, if you've watched any of my other content, it's really hard to get that right. It really is just tough to get that right with a safety razor. So I've mostly been sticking to straight razors. I do have a review of a Shavette coming, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. But yeah, I really have not, I really have not touched on it much on this channel, although I'm a big fan of them. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle right now. And also keep in mind, at the time, I used to shave my head with a straight razor or safety razor. So I spent a lot of time kind of developing my skills there. And I know that's not as much a focus of this channel, because now I've grown out my hair since then. But I used to shave my head. I would use the safety razor. It was pretty cool. And I definitely enjoyed it. So moving on from that, never really doing a beard, up to a month. That was it. What changed all of that? Once I hit, kind of my late 20s, actually someone randomly came up at work and started talking about No Shave November. I'm sure everybody's familiar, but just for anyone who's been living on the planet Mars, that's for people who they basically don't normally grow a beard, and then they'll take November and they'll grow out a beard. And then there's a thing called Movember, where it's about growing a mustache, and a lot of times it's used to raise money for charities, various cancer type things that are specific to men. And so I participated in that year, and having grown out my beard for the entire month and not really touching it too much, other than I was still doing the neckline, I was like, oh, this has been kind of fun. So I started growing it longer. And in conjunction with that, my wife actually told me she really likes long beards. And I'm like, how long? And she's like, well, the longer the better. So for those of you in relationships where your significant other actually fights you on this, I do consider myself to be very lucky that my wife basically says the longer the better for the beard. So I've been I've been in a good position there to grow mine out. So throughout the next couple months, I kept growing it and getting longer and longer. And that was when, and big mistakes early on, stuff that I could definitely recommend to you. Well, not so much recommend, but say, hey, don't do this, which is do not shave your neckline if you're intending on growing out your beard. That was so dumb. I remember I actually started going to a barber at one point because, I have my barber. At some point, I do want to do a video on this channel. I'll have to talk to him about it, about doing like hey, here's a video of me at my barber, doing my thing. But I do have my barber trim my sideburns and then trim my mustache as well. And then he actually does a thing where he catches any flyaways, which typically aren't many. So I'm not super concerned about it, but I do have my barber kind of make sure my beard is on point. And my barber at the time, he was looking at my neckline as he was kind of doing my beard, and he's like, "Are you shaving under your? Are you shaving like under your chin?" He's like, and I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Don't do that." He's like, "Why are you doing that? You can't see it." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So it didn't even click in my head that like if I'm growing out my beard, don't shave that neckline. So that was something that I definitely had to learn. Just never thought about it. I'd always done under the chin and shaved that. And so it was something I definitely had to learn moving forward. Other things that I learned over time was, as I mentioned earlier, I was a safety razor shaver. And as I used the safety razor, I was shaving my cheek line lower and lower and lower and lower to the point where, it would get all the way down here. And then I'd have to be like, oh crap, I have to stop shaving for a while and then have it be stubbly and growing back up here. Cause you just don't want to, it just looks funky when you have this really long beard, but your cheek line is all low. So I had to learn that eventually just drop the safety. That took me a long time, but eventually I was like, I just got to stick with straights on my cheeks, and been happy with that ever since. And I haven't lowered my cheek line since, but that was frankly something I learned really this year. I've had to do the repair up here earlier this year. And kind of in conjunction with that, or in connection to that, I really got into a situation where I was growing it out, and I kind of stuck with it for an entire year and without having shaved it off. And I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. And then it came up where No Shave November was coming around the corner again. And kind of on a whim, I just shaved it off entirely, and said like, oh, I'm just going to start fresh. And I did it again. And then the next year came along and I did it again. So I think, if I think correctly, I think we're on the third year, or coming up on the end of the third year of me doing this process where I basically grown a beard and shaved it off. Mostly because I think in years past, I've really gotten, I would start getting annoyed with the beard at a certain point, in the same way that you might get annoyed with any style you're sticking with. I would just start going like, man, I just don't want to keep this anymore. It's driving me crazy. So I got to the point where I just didn't want to deal with it anymore, and I would just shave it off and I would get all annoyed. The difference this year, so you may be noticing, if you're looking at the timing of when this podcast is shot, it is October 20th, and so we're coming up on the year again. So we're coming up on the time where theoretically I would shave my beard off. And I've been sitting there and going, I don't know if I want to do it this year. And I think what got me kind of really invigorated in this is, this kind of ties in with my beard journey, that like I've always used a beard oil. So mentioned it many times on the channel, but annoyingly threw away all my bottles had all used my bottles and thrown them all away before I started the channel. I had always used Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements beard oil, the unscented. I had some scented ones for a while, and then I've fully moved on to the unscented for years. Like, so the same thing. Anytime I've had a beard for the last several years, it's just been Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements over and over and over again. Didn't rotate, didn't have multiple kinds. Just I knew enough. I had watched a video. They have a video. It's not on their channel. It was, what was it called? They used to, and of course I'm blanking, but there was a video series that Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements used to do with Razor Emporium. I'd Lather Be Shaving. There we go. It came in my head. I'd Lather Be Shaving, which definitely go watch all those videos on YouTube. They are excellent. They're just great. All the topics are awesome. And they did one on beards, and that's when they talked about treating it with a beard oil. So I knew enough to do that, but there was a lot of the just basics I just did not know. And just up until I think 6 months ago, I stumbled upon, I think the first one I ever saw was Healthy Bearded. I stumbled upon his channel. And then from there, I actually found Dancy Bearded, and then Scuba, and then I dabble around with, I think it's, I think Beards and Banjos. I might be mixing that up, but there's several of the channels that I follow as well that I like to watch, and just kind of picking up a lot of stuff, a lot of the basics that, I really taught. I think the last podcast that I did kind of walks through all the basics of, beard oil rotation and not combing in on the chin so that you get that indent, and, applying products to a wet beard, and just all that stuff that seems basic now and seems like, like I have that all ingrained in my head. I just didn't know any of it. So I learned a lot and kind of refound the fun of it, not just in having the beard, which I think was always what I liked. I liked having it, but I think the thing that has changed the game for me is now I enjoy taking care of it. So taking care of it is part of the fun of it. And so I think it's kind of doubled or tripled, or, maybe it's like it's like a multiplier where it's like not just, it's made it so much more fun in just taking care of it, that I think that it's really reinvigorated my love for it. And I think I'm going to keep it now. I think I'm going to keep it, for a while and just see where it goes. It's an interesting situation because I am a white collar professional, and I have not experienced any. I'm definitely going to do a video on, I actually think the next podcast should be, or I guess I control it, so I can be whatever I want, but I think the next podcast will be, should you have a long beard as a white collar professional, which is not I have opinions, strong opinions on that. They might not be what you think, considering I have a big beard, but it seems like professionally, especially at this point in my career, people aren't really super concerned with with my beard. So I'm just gonna keep it and keep growing it and kind of see where we go. I've never done I haven't had the need to do a transparency trim at any point, and I've just been kind of riding it so far and seeing where it goes. Hey, Michael Romy, thanks for hopping on, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the live. I've been trying to do these Fridays at 9, and of course, you never set yourself to you never commit yourself to a schedule, because if you do, unless you're Dan C. Bearded and you just can nail it every time, which much respect to that man. If you miss, you start getting people to not trust you as much. But I'm trying to do these every Friday at 9 if I can. This is the best time for me to do them. So I'm trying to nail these down every Friday at 9. So I hope you enjoy, and feel free to drop your beard origin story in the chat. And we can definitely go back and forth on it a little bit, because I think this is an interesting thing, because it's I think it was a trend, maybe I'm going to say when Beard Brand was really hot, 2014-ish or so, maybe 2015. But I would say I'm not saying it's out of style, but it's not, the hot thing is not having a big beard right now. So for those of us who do it, I think it's a unique thing that we're definitely, experimenting with and enjoying. So yeah, I think that's really my story, is someone who never really considered having one, never really considered growing one. And I think kind of through just a goofy experiment I used to do, and everybody I know knows this story, that I shave it off every year, and they're always excited to see me with the beard shaved off at the beginning of November. They're like, "Oh dude, I didn't even recognize you," and like, "Oh, I can't believe it, you look so different, you look so young." So that's I think I'm gonna miss that this year, because that's always a fun little experiment for me, or experience for me, I should say. But I'm just enjoying this too much, and I gotta let it ride. Even beyond the channel. As much as I love doing this YouTube channel, I wouldn't keep the beard just for the channel. I think I would definitely shave it off if I so desired, and then we could do, hey, Joe's growing his beard again, and what it's like to grow a beard from scratch. But yeah, I think that's really everything I got to say today. Everything I wanted to cover. Like I said, next week we'll dive into whether you should grow a beard as a white collar worker. With that being said, this has been Joe from Beards, Blades, and Podcasts, and until next time.